Ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. It's like being in a church meeting today.
I can't get them together.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's time that the appointed time, a little bit after us, to getting this started, and we've sort of got a system set into place. I'm going to introduce myself and the committee members, give you a little bit of critique about why we're here, and before I say anything else, I really do want to thank the City of Columbus and the elected officials, their legislative delegation, for inviting us to come down here for this listening tour meeting. This committee that is in front of you is a specially appointed committee on economic development, appointed by Speaker Ralston, not a study committee, but a full-blown committee with an assemblage of the House members. And it was to look at several different issues about economic development and things that would enhance the business of the state. Now, a lot of that has moved toward the gaming issues that has been talked about forever. And these are some of the members of the committee that were here today. The committee consists of three co-chairs, Chairman Ron Stevens, Chairman of Economic Development and Tourism, Chairman Brett Harrell, Ways and Means, and myself, Alan Powell, as the Chairman of Regulated Industries. So in the interest of gaming, so you've got the tax part of that, the economic development part, and the regulatory functions that are represented on this committee. Speaker had picked a very good assemblage of members to be here. And at that time, I'm going to introduce the members of the committee and some other legislative members. First off, we have Rick Williams from Milledgeville. Rick. We have Jenny Earhart from Cobb County. We have Al Williams, the sage of the Georgia coast. We have Jay Collins from up in Villa Rica. We have Dale Washburn. Dale. Got Dale. We've got Marion Parrish from Macon. And I think that's the members, except for a very special member, ex officio, Dean of the House, Calvin Smyrie. We've got Calvin. Today in attendance, we see Carolyn Hughley, representative from down here. Carolyn. Deb Buckner. Is there any other serving representatives here today? And then last but not least, former representative colleague of mine, Jed Harris. Good to see y'all here today. Now, that being said, the criteria of how we're going to operate today is that Representative Smyrie is going to introduce a few special guests that's going to give a presentation to the committee. And at that point, then we've got a film footage that is a consolidation of 3 days of comprehensive testimony that was given from all of the people with the various interests in the gaming in Georgia. Once you see that, then I'll explain the process of what it would take if people have an interest in this type of activity in Georgia. And we can, as a committee, we'll talk about the do's and the don'ts and the yeses and the no's and all the good and the bad that we heard through 3 days of testimony. And that being said, at this point, I'm going to turn this over to Dean Smyrie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Special Committee on Economic Development. Let me say that we welcome you to Columbus and we thank you all for being here. I've attended the other meetings that we've had around the state, and of course we're looking forward to hearing from the public here in Columbus. Before we get started, I want to thank City Manager Isaiah Hughley and the members of his team, Ms. Johnson and all that have assisted us. When you called me about a week and a half ago about coming to Columbus, we put it in place very, very quickly, and we're delighted to have the committee here at our Government Center complex. Before we get started, I think it would be apropos if we hear from the mayor and the leader of our city, Mayor Skip Henderson. Mayor Skip Henderson who will come. And when I called the mayor about a week ago, I asked the mayor to come, and of course the city council has been very active in regards to designation resorts, and have passed a resolution for members of the House delegation to consider. So with that in mind, Mr. Mayor, if you will come, Skip Henderson, the mayor of our great city of Columbus, will come and give remarks. Mayor Henderson.
Mr. Smyrie, I don't mind. I think on my first year of this term, it's okay to blend the two mayors, so that's not such a bad thing. Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, thank you. We really are appreciative of you taking time to come to Columbus, Georgia. We think it is entirely appropriate that Columbus, Georgia have an opportunity to voice its thoughts on some of the things that you are deliberating. Most of all, I want to welcome you. I want to tell you we're glad you're here and offer you a return ticket anytime you want to come back. You just let us know. We do have a number of folks here. I'm not going to go through all of the individuals that are here, the elected officials. We do have a number of our council. If they would stand up, Councilor Judy Thomas, Mimi Woodson, Valerie Thompson, and our former Mayor Pro Tem, who is just retired, and we still make sure we listen to everything she says, is Evelyn Turner Pugh. We also have with us from other elected officials, we've got our municipal court clerk, Vivian Bishop, and she is here. And we also have, I think, our, of course, you mentioned Isaiah Hughley, our sheriff, Donna Tompkins, is here. She's keenly interested in the deliberations today. We also want to mention that Matt Swift is here. He's the newly appointed member of the Georgia Department of Economic Development Board, and we're really pleased that he's representing us there. So we're keenly interested in what you are deliberating today. We want to welcome you here, and we thank you so much for choosing Columbus to host this hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, when I had talked with the mayor and had talked with the chairs of the committee, Dr. Bob Wright, we had asked him to come and to sign up to say a few words, and prior to the chairman going through an oversight of the deliberations of the committee for the past few months, we were going to ask Dr. Wright to come and to make a presentation. And I'm also told that City Councilor Mimi Woodson will make remarks as well prior to going to the public agenda. The public agenda is to the right up front here if anybody would like to sign up to testify. But prior to doing that and prior to hearing from the chairman of the committee, Chairman Powell, we'll ask Dr. Wright and City Councilor Woodson if they would come in that order and make their presentation or whatever remarks they may have for the committee. Dr. Wright.
Thank you, Dean Smyrie, to the chairman and other members of the committee. First of all, I want to thank you all for taking time out of your schedule to come to Columbus, Georgia. I just want you to know we're proud of our city, and Columbus is a city that's on the move, and I think we're doing some fantastic things, and we want to keep that moving. Now, I know that I did a presentation before this committee before, so I'm not going to repeat everything that we showed you last time, but I think I should emphasize a couple of things, because to me this is all related to our beloved Chattahoochee River. And we have, there's been some substantial development along the river, and our goal is to continue that development in an area of Columbus that needs a lot of help. By that I mean jobs, new housing, and so forth. And really needs an economic catalyst to really turn that part of our city around. So basically, as I did the last time, I'm going to shorten it because I don't want to repeat myself. I just wanted to, you told me to tap it. Excuse me.
You're gonna have a full house, well, y'all brought them out.
We good?
No, I'm not surprised.
As many of the people in the audience know, there's been a lot of development. And I was raised in a part of town called downtown. Now we call it uptown. So if I get that confused, you know what I'm talking about. There's been a lot of development along the Chattahoochee River. The river is a natural resource. And I don't think God's going to create any more river. But if you look, we see development called the Rapids. There are about 3 new hotels being built in uptown Columbus. Our whitewater rafting, drawing people from all over the country. Zip lining, only zip line across 2 states. That's true. And our whitewater rafting is the longest whitewater rafting in the world through an urban area. So we're proud of these things. The Center for Performing Arts, other things, and most of these people, other structures, most of us know about the Trade Center, all on the river, Historic District. Then you walk down Golden Park, the Civic Center, South Commons, Naval Museum, Historic Westfield, all along the river. So I've gone from uptown where all the development is going, all the new hotels are going, and essentially I walked you all the way down the river to Fort Benning. Now once we get to Fort Benning, let's go back and zero in on the proposed resort, destination resort, which, go back one, which is in between uptown Columbus and Fort Benning. We have 150 acres, almost a mile of riverfront. We need to continue to develop our river. And so, working with our architect who's sitting here, we think we can put a destination resort right along the river that not only will create 1,000 jobs, and God knows we need jobs in our city and every place else, but all the other activities that will occur around this property. This is somewhat of a proposed design concept, and our architect would be working with us to do a design similar to this. We want something that's very, very nice, very upscale, that would be a credit not only to our city, but be a credit to this whole area. And so, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, we think the economic impact of a destination resort will have a tremendous effect on Columbus and our cities, as well as contributing to the Hope Scholarship and other needs that the city may find as some of you may be moving into trying to wrestle with some of the budget constraints and budget cuts. Mr. Chairman, I didn't want to bore you with the presentation that you already seen, but I think I was able to give you the highlights and also get the highlights to our citizens here so they can at least see what we're up to. And I appreciate you all being here again, and thanks for your time.
Do we have any questions from any of the committee members? Dr. Wright, I want to thank you so very much for your presentation, not only today, but when you came up to Atlanta when we had the 3 comprehensive days. And thank you very much, and my compliments for the unification down here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you to the committee and to the chairman. My name is Councilor Evelyn Mimi Webston. I'm a District 7 I am where the proposed resort would be at. I wanted to make a statement and leave you with this statement, and so that you have this information which you leave with you today, okay? I appreciate you coming to our great city. This is a wonderful city. I've been here since '92 and been in office since '94. I've been in office for 24 years representing this district. This district is a unique and wonderful and beautiful district, as I'm going to present to you and leave with you. So if you allow me the opportunity, where the proposed economic development, economic impact designation resort opportunity is proposed, I have come here today to make my support known publicly that I, as the district representative to the proposed project, is here in support. No doubt that this opportunity will create jobs and improve the quality of life for many people in District 7 throughout the city of Columbus and this region, which we call the Tri-City community, which includes Columbus, Phoenix City, and Fort Benning. We have done many amazing things in District 7 throughout Columbus and all over in the past 24 years that I've been on this council. I can tell you without any questions today that this economy development, economy impact project will be a big game change for my district and the people we represent here in Columbus, Georgia. In development increase, I want you to know that we have spent more than $328 million in active major projects going on in Columbus, Georgia right now. 21 of those projects are in District 7, with a total of $220 million worth. I want to share with you a list of our activities of past and present and future projects to demonstrate to the citizens of Columbus believes in investment and reinvestment in our city. And I want you to further demonstrate that Columbus is a great place for the proposed economy development project being discussed today. Again, let me go over these projects for you. In South Columbus, the district that this is going to be proposed, the Fort Benning Gateway at 185 on Victory Drive, Brown Avenue Bridge, the Follow Me Trail, the Follow Me Bridge, the Victory Drive improvement, the stormwater improvement on Casita Road and Levy Road, the Fort Benning Road runabout and streetscape, the Buena Vista Spider Web improvement, the I-85 Casita Road interchange, the I-85 Casita Road / US 27 intersection, I-85 Buena Vista intersection, Riverwalk Westville parking, Benning Drive Bridge, the Martin Luther King Boulevard streetscape, the Dragonfly Trail connection to Victory Drive 30th Avenue signal, the Levy Road, Infantry Road, the trail east and west, the National Infantry Road north and south, South Common improvement, Georgia Port Authority tank cleanup, and Tugela Bridge. It's just a few that is going on in this district. The 3 brand new hotels is in this district. The pride that we have changed in our uptown Columbus is in this district. This is the perfect district for this proposed economic development. I can go on to tell you in North Columbus. I can tell you what we have going on in East Columbus. I can tell you today in District 7, the National Infantry Museum. These are past. Oxbow Meadows, 6th Avenue and Fleming. Old Camp Landfill closed. Casita Road Protection Bridge. Westville relocating. Think about it. Westville was in South Lumpkin, Georgia. And they came to visit, and they seen the beautiful people, how willing we are to share, be partner, and develop, and to bring change to our community. They came to Columbus, Georgia. That is a big privilege to me and an honor that they chose my district to be in it. The North Side St. Mary's Road, and the future, the Liberty District train expand, the South Lumpkin streetscape, which I'm so super excited that I drive my mayor and my city council members crazy with, and the Casita Road streetscape improvement. Again, these are projects along the Chattahoochee River, where we have 22 miles of river walk, whitewater rafting, zip line, and will be a game changer for this region. Please note that I support this project and urge you to include Columbus, Georgia, as a destination resort as you continue with your process. Hear me loud and clear. This will be an amazing change, not only for the people that I represent, the people of Columbus and this region. Our people go other towns to visit, to go to resorts. How wonderful it will be for them to go down the street at home, to relax, to enjoy, to have a family time. Columbus is a jewel. I was in the military for 15 years, been all over the world, but I chose Columbus to live, and I'll be here till the Lord calls me. Why? Because it's a community that when they believe in something, you can't stop them. They all come together. Today is a demonstration of that. And we would have more if people weren't working. To be honest, I have people ask me every day, when is this coming? And the people of District 7 want jobs, want opportunities. We want this. And we ask you to please really consider us. It will not be a mistake. You will not regret your vote. We've had developments that said, well, maybe, and when they came and they developed, they're happy. So I say to you and I plead to you today, please consider my great district and my great city. Thank you for your time. And I'm going to leave these here.
Got a question for the council lady.
Yes, sir.
Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Council lady, your enthusiasm is infectious.
Thank you.
I want to know where you practice your art since it's not legal in Georgia yet. Where do you go?
Well,
Come on now,
we
tell
usually
me. I ain't
go
gonna
to
tell.
Birmingham or we go to Montgomery. I go home to Puerto Rico and enjoy it. But I'd rather be right here at home. It saves me a lot of money to have more fun.
Yeah.
You know, when you save money to go on a vacation trip, you have to budget in today's society. You know, most people have 2 jobs. It's hard. You know, when someone gets on that bus to go to Montgomery or go to Alabama, it takes some money.
I'm glad I didn't ask you a long question.
I'm sorry. I get excited when you talk about my city. I get excited when you talk about my district. So I apologize. You asked the wrong person because I'm hyper. Anything else, sir? And I apologize. I'm just
No,
very
fine. Thank you.
passionate.
It's all
I'm
right.
just very passionate. I'm sorry.
Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor and City Council members and City Manager, was there anyone else from the city that had any comments from the official capacity as a members of the city government? Was there anyone else?
Well, in addition to the welcome, let me just say that we did unanimously pass a resolution in support of the citizens of Georgia being allowed to vote on whether or not gaming is allowed in the state. And as we've talked about it, we want to make sure that as this new industry is possibly becoming available to the state of Georgia, we think Columbus needs to be in that conversation. We recognize what you guys are here for is what, frankly, I'm interested in, and that is the potential economic impact. making sure that we have looked at what that impact's going to be. We are constantly, I know Brian Solito from the Chamber is here, we work very hard at trying to create jobs. We recognize that creating good jobs and at the same time developing the work skills so these folks can take advantage of them is going to determine our success as a community. And as a regional economic development center, we feel a responsibility to some of the counties below us that are some of the poorest counties in the nation, to be able to provide opportunities for them to find employment in Columbus. The advantage of that is not lost on us either. So as I stated, we just want to make sure that as this moves forward, that Columbus is afforded an opportunity to have a seat at the table and talk about it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. Did see the president, the chair of the Muskego County School Board come in. I don't know where she went, but I saw Pat Hickel Green. Thank you for being there, Pat Hickel Green. All right.
Thank you, Dean Smyrie. Thank you, Your Honor. You know, as I sit here and I listen and I see the crowd here, I don't think this committee's up here to make a hard sell to the city of Columbus. I think that y'all probably have already predetermined this issue. So I'm going to give a little bit of a background to the committee, a little bit of the process, what it's going to take. And I know if it sounds redundant to those of y'all who already know this process, then we're going to show a video that is a highlight of the 3 days of comprehensive hearings that we had with casinos, horse racing events, and the sports betting folks. And then we can get into the questions and the answers, and hopefully, if y'all need some advice about how to get this to moving. Let me up front, I will tell you that there's only one person in here that served in the legislature more than I, and that's Dean Smyrie. Matter of fact, I don't know if Moses was along when Calvin was elected. But Calvin probably knows more than anybody up there on the political structure and how things operate to get things done. The year that I was elected was the year that we did the lottery. I was the last serving member of the old industry committee that passed the lottery at that time. There's been a lot of discussion for years about gambling. We have gambling in the state of Georgia, and it's called the Georgia Lottery. And it's been a big benefit to certain quarters of this state at that time. When passed, it's brought in billions of dollars. It's gone for higher education to worthy recipients of the hope. It's gone to pre-K, and at one time it helped to fund a lot of the technology that was new and budding at that time. Today, 27 years later, the lottery does more today than it ever did. When the lottery was passed in Georgia, a lot of people said, well, it won't last. Historically, lotteries do well, then they taper down, but not so in Georgia. Georgia Lottery has continued to grow, and it's continued to supplement and to support monies to the causes of which it was intended to do. A lot of the members that have, some that are past, no longer members of the legislature, have talked about this issue. Because of the uniqueness of this issue, the fact that it takes a constitutional amendment. A constitutional amendment means that the people of Georgia vote for it. I've been telling some of the members, and when Speaker Ralston asked me to get involved in this issue, I had told him up front that no legislator can legalize gaming in the state of Georgia. The only person or people that can do that are the citizens of Georgia at the ballot box. So no legislator needs to be hesitant about being blamed or given credit for doing this, because this is up to you, the people of this state, not just the people of Muskogee, Columbus, but also the people of Augusta, Macon, Savannah, every small town across the state, because it's a constitutional amendment that everybody would vote for. What it takes to get that to the ballot, it takes two-thirds of the members of the House and two-thirds of the members of the Senate to vote in agreement to a constitutional amendment. Then the enabling legislation fills in all the details of how it would operate. That's what we're going to discuss here today, and hopefully, since it appears that y'all are so much more on board than some quarters of the state, maybe we can seek some advice from y'all or give some hope that y'all can reach out across the state. That being said, we've got a film footage that we'd like for everybody to take a look at, listen to the testimony that's given over this film footage, and then please be prepared to ask us some questions, because we're here to hear y'all today. We're here to listen to y'all. It's a listening tour. That being said, if you could.
Kind of give everyone an idea of what our purpose is going forward, and is to consider the regulatory environment, the tax and incentive environment, as well as the economic development opportunities that would be available to our citizens by attracting new industries into the state of Georgia.
There's revenue that would come in two cycles, quite frankly, in my opinion, on gaming in Georgia. One would be while the proceeds, taxes on the proceeds from gaming is one, but there's also a lot of other things that'll be looked at, and hopefully it'll come out during the course of these 3 days, and that's the general economic development. We're looking at sales taxes that would be magnified off of this, the hotel taxes and the revenue from that, food services, entertainment, and all of that. So this is certainly not just an issue about gaming per se. This is an industry that doesn't want tax incentives. They come in and they go into business and they do what they do. But this is all left up to the people of Georgia to make that final decision, and up to the members of the legislature to frame this issue so that the public knows what they're voting for and whether it would be to the positive or the negatives.
It's not the old days of, I think of my grandparents would have seen in Las Vegas, where they would go to play at the slot machine. They'd have a low-cost hotel room and they'd sit and hang out at the buffet for a meal. Today's customers want upscale hotel rooms. They want spas. They want upscale restaurants. They want unique dining experiences. They want a plethora of both gaming and non-gaming activity, where this becomes an entertainment complex that's driven and anchored by the gaming facility, but you have these other amenities that are all part of that.
One of the things that we have always stated, that if you're going to do any type of gaming, it needs to be focused on creating those destination resort style places that you can be proud of, that you know that's going to bring that economic return. And then maybe it's on a limited basis. So if it's like, okay, it's a 10-year license or 20-year license, and where does the development go after that? But I think that you always should be taking into account is what is those industry trends.
The average person only plays about 2 to 4 hours a day when they stay with us. So they're looking for other things to do, whether it's in our resort or whether it's in the restaurants down the road, the golf courses, the deep sea fishing expeditions. One thing not to miss, our businesses around these operations will also rise due to the people looking for the local experience.
When these things open up, the gaming revenue is always the big dog. That's where you make the money. If you're going to be a well-rounded city and a well-rounded resort, you want the non-gaming revenue to catch up. That means you've got good restaurants, you've got good entertainment, you've got good conventions. The gaming revenue doesn't want to go down, but you want them to catch up. And if you can get to a point where the non-gaming revenue is up with the gaming revenue, that means you got a pretty well-rounded economy, you got a great city, you got a good resort. That's what you want.
Good people can disagree with each other. So, and I just want you to know that's how I see this issue here today. There's no doubt that this can have a negative impact. You know, I really do not believe that this type of industry is a positive promotion of family and financial stability today. And yet we claim today that most of what we do down here, we do, and correct in that we do that, and that is that it's for the children. But I will tell you today that the people who are suffering the most from the legalization of social vices are children.
So I want to talk just a minute about problem gambling, because everybody acknowledges, even the industry acknowledges, that there are people who will become problem gamblers. And as we expand a market, that creates new gamblers. Let's say 10% of Georgians decided to gamble if we got any new form of gambling at a 4% rate. That would create 40,000 new problem gamblers in the state of Georgia. 40,000 people that are not only ruining their own lives, but the lives of many others around them. The crime rate goes up 10% in a ring, not in the casino, because look, they hire good people to take care of their own property. It's outside of that property. And again, this is FBI statistics, not me just talking, and not from a movie. They have studied it, and 10% every year that the casino is in operation, not just the first year, every year it goes up 10%.
So in its core, commercialized gambling, this is what separates it from any other business in America. Commercialized gambling is a form of financial fraud, and it results in life-changing financial losses for millions of Americans and thousands of your constituents right here in Georgia. The American people, okay, over the next 8 years are expected to lose $1 trillion of their personal wealth to government-sanctioned gambling.
So gambling does real harm. It hurts people. Problem gambling is something that we need to take very seriously in this state and everywhere.
At some point, we have to look as a legislature, what are some of the social vices that are creating the economic problems that we're having to go raise tax money for? And wouldn't an ounce of prevention be worth a pound of cure somewhere in this process?
I'll be the first to tell you when in 2008, when they were starting to build the casino, I was a young narcotics guy, and I was like, man, we're going to be so busy, it's going to explode. And I would be bored to death if that's all I had to work right now, because it's just not there. It's not happening. And again, it's management. If things are managed correctly and you have your law enforcement on board, you don't have those problems.
My community was very skeptical of MGM coming. There was talk about crime and prostitution and some of the things that I heard mentioned earlier, and I think that may be true in every jurisdiction where there's no experience or no knowledge of seeing this firsthand. In my community, crime has actually gone down.
I went back through all the way to 2009 through our reports. We've never had a prostitution case that's taken place at our casino, nor was there one in our county of 38,000 people.
Blue Chip opened just before I took office as LaPorte County Sheriff. I heard fears about thefts, robberies, prostitution, and other crimes that were going to occur because of a casino. None of these concerns have ever become a reality. The Blue Chip is one of the most crime-free areas in the community. The relationship between Blue Chip security and law enforcement agencies is second to none.
Every jurisdiction in the world thinks about what gaming can do to society. Is it going to hurt people's lives, ruin their situation? And we take responsible gaming very, very seriously. There's good news and bad news. The good news is a very small percentage of society will be addicted to gaming. However, the bad news is that small percentage, it can ruin their life. So you can't ignore the fact that there is a percentage, there's probably a percentage right now in Georgia, just like there was in Massachusetts, that's already has a gaming problem. And so you have to identify that, you have to work on that. It's a serious issue. We take it very seriously. We're very proud of our track record. We have full-time counselors on the gaming floor in Massachusetts offering advice. We have training for our employees to identify who might look like they might be having a problem. It's often easier to identify these people than you might think. You can identify somebody that's having a significant issue. You can get them counseling. You can, work with them on exclusions. You can do a number of things. So as you go forward, if you go forward with your gaming legislation, you can't be scared of this, but you also can't ignore it. you need to have regulations and enforcement that's very strong. When it's unregulated and unfunded, it's the Wild West. So in states that have put this in and have actually built into the legislation ways to work on it, it's been a big benefit.
We had a problem whenever we first put in 1993, I guess, when we started gambling in Georgia. Two issues that we did not foresee was local control. There's none. You can go without any say-so by the local governments whatsoever. I hope we can repair that. We also didn't anticipate with the lottery, the compulsive gaming, mental illness piece. I hope we can fix that. And I guess just so that I'm clear, we have 2 states in the United States that are non-gambling states. I want to make sure you'd be okay if Georgia joined Hawaii and Utah as no gaming whatsoever.
Absolutely, absolutely, thank you.
Until recently, federal law prohibited legalized sports wagering outside of Nevada and a handful of other states. Yet illegal sports wagering has continued to flourish across all mediums, in person, over the internet, and most recently through sophisticated mobile applications. This illegal market has capitalized on enormous consumer demand while offering no protections to consumers, athletes, or sporting events, and providing no revenue to state taxpayers. Georgia now has a chance to fix this, and today's hearing is an important step in that direction. MGM is committed to providing a cutting-edge sports wagering product that protects integrity and gives consumers a compelling reason to move from the black market to a safe, regulated environment. The most recent estimate that we have suggests that it's about a little under $500 million in gross gaming revenue, so a little under $500 million in taxable operating revenue that the operators would have in this market. And so then the state's cut of that would be whatever the tax rate is.
If nothing else comes from all these meetings and hearings, the fact that this is an economic engine for this state is first and foremost.
And when you look at this industry, it's a $261 billion industry. It has a huge economic impact on our country. The charge of this committee, as I understand it, is to look at economic development and economic growth opportunities. You have a chance to put your own Georgia-specific sort of stamp on this industry, depending upon what it is you desire, whether you desire a long-term economic development strategy or just a lot of tax revenue up front.
Why would anybody want to do this? I think you can see how Boston ticks off all these. First of all, urban renewal. Casinos don't mind taking on a site that some other people might not really like. You can cause urban renewal because of the financial structure and the urban planning issues we have that might not happen otherwise. Sustainable development. You should push any casino developer to be very green. You shouldn't put up with an old-fashioned resort. You should make sure it's very sustainable. Career employment opportunities. Again, anywhere we go, we create thousands and thousands of jobs. We have 30,000 of them around the world, and that's going to grow and grow and grow. Significant expansion of tax benefits. You saw those numbers. It's hundreds of millions of dollars a year between the gross gaming tax, the regular sales tax, the income tax, and then the separate but the surrounding and host communities. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars a year, which is already happening now. Finally, the economic impact of primary and secondary spending. We bring in a lot of tourists. Massachusetts is already a heavy tourist area. We're already increasing that significantly. People want to come to Boston. We have regular customers. We have a database you can't believe, and people around the world that already visit our resorts are saying, I'm adding Boston to my list. I'm going there for a week with my family. We're going to go every year. So we're bringing in a significant amount of tourism that didn't exist before.
The reality is, from an economic perspective, it was one of the best things that could have happened to our community. Gaming impact to date, as I say, 6 casinos, really is 5 casinos and 1 racino. $962 million in taxes, 15,000 plus jobs supported, $713 million in annual wages supported. For Prince George's County, there are a total of 4,833 employees at the facility.
In 2009, when the casino opened, there was a lot of speculation on what was going to happen. And the main thing that happened was it helped our county prosper.
Many people don't know that, we are just a small tribe of 3,000 people, but we've been able to grow economically across the state of Alabama and worldwide. We were a very poor tribe. We understand what it means not to have the jobs. We understand what it means not to have the education opportunities. We understand what it means not to have just infrastructure of development or government itself. This was about providing the opportunities for jobs, for community growth and development. And Wind Creek Atmore is in the heart of our reservation. And so we made the decision then to build there, because that was what this was about. It was about funding our government, and it was about creating jobs.
We need big projects like these casinos in this state for these men and women to come work to. Casinos will bring more people into our apprenticeship programs, which leads to more skilled workers. We always hear we have a skilled worker shortage, and it is so true. One way we solve that is by bringing more people bring more people to get trained, and jobs like this can do that. I called my counterpart out in Vegas from the building trades and asked him for some information on, the kind of numbers I could look at if we were to be so fortunate to have this opportunity in Georgia. And he said that, speaking of one single casino development, he said that project took place over multiple years, had 3 different phases. The construction provided $1.5 billion in construction wages and $84 million in taxes while employing several thousands of workers. Once open, the property would account for 8,500 direct jobs, 3,300 indirect jobs. The development was projected and did generate over $155 million in annual tax revenue. Those sound like pretty good deals to me from where I sit. With these kinds of results, I can see great opportunities for the state of Georgia in the construction sector, as well as many other benefits for the state of Georgia as well.
The rural Georgia continues to struggle, and here is an opportunity to bring some really nice jobs and industry, sustainable industry to rural Georgia. I'm talking about horse farms, breeding farms, hay farms, oats, training facilities, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's a great opportunity for rural Georgia, and I think it's important to mention that.
96.8% of our team members live in the state of Louisiana, so I think that will be much the same here in your process here, that we're going to be putting folks in Georgia to work. 54% female, over 50% minority. If I do the numbers right, it's about 52% of the folks are making at least $26 or more an hour of the workforce. The local community college has recognized the industry so much that they just opened up a new 28,000 square foot facility funded by the local taxes generated by the resort to recognize that we're building a hospitality, gaming, and culinary college. So I think you see today that a lot of these kids, maybe not everybody's cut out for a 4-year degree, and they're giving these folks training in 2 years and giving them real jobs. And they can't keep up with the demand. We're having to outsource to labor with contractors because we can't find enough folks to work in Lake Charles.
Arts and culture in Georgia has been a tremendous asset to attract businesses and corporations to Georgia for decades. Today, I'd like to share our concerns with the proposed casino gaming legislation. Fueled by gaming revenue, casinos pay significantly above market rates for talent, which local venues cannot afford to do. The result will be artist fees will increase for all facilities in Georgia, and casinos will set the bar on price. Other venues in the state will not be able to compete. In addition, casinos hurt local venues and businesses that they rely on them by imposing other restrictions. These restrictions are exclusivity clauses in which talent performs only at facilities owned by casino operators, radius clauses in which talent cannot perform at other venues, and duration clauses in which talent cannot return to the vicinity for a certain length of time after performing at the casino. So what do Georgians stand to lose in this case? Civic assets, venues that offer classical music, opera, and others, downtown anchors, highly revered source of community pride, nonprofit institutions and historical institutions, and investment in taxpayer-operated venues.
Your argument is about a competitive advantage, and a number of these businesses do receive advantages offered by the state of Georgia. This new industry is asking for none of those. The state invests heavily and in this, in my estimation, my words, heavily in a number of these nonprofits and all sorts of nonprofits across the state of Georgia. And the marketplaces that we've heard testimony over the last couple of years, many of them I've visited, and they all have wonderful arts and entertainment. DC has tremendous arts and entertainment throughout that marketplace. Boston has wonderful arts and entertainment throughout that marketplace. So the suggestion that we're going to decimate an entire industry, I think, is a little bit far-fetched from what we've seen in other marketplaces.
We always knew that we wanted to do our best to try to give back to our government to provide those services that we needed. So we have roughly around 3,000 tribal members, citizens of the tribe, and we probably service another 6,000 Indian descent through education, healthcare services, and such. But the only way that we were able to do that was through our gaming opportunities. And I think that's what you're looking for in the state of Georgia, how you can give back to your local communities.
Among the states with legalized gaming, Iowa is the only state that requires regulated casinos to contribute a portion to their local charities and communities. So this provides a great opportunity for nonprofits to get some money. They basically earmark $60 million a year for the general fund, and the rest of the gaming tax goes to rebuild Iowa infrastructure. Basically, all of our universities have new buildings, and a lot of other things that they do with it. Vision Iowa was an economic development program to help provide grant funding for communities to build economic development, event centers and different projects. Our view on gaming is gaming works well when it benefits the most people. That's why we bring local shareholders in. Our family usually owns about 50% of the company, and then we have 500 local shareholders that own the other 50%. And then you factor in the nonprofit piece, you factor in the tax dollars to the state. I mean, gaming in Iowa has been a great success. It's a good model.
When we built Wetumpka, they had a part-time fire department. And so we negotiated agreement with the city and the county that we went in and we pay for the full-time fire department along with the ladder truck. Because if you do build a hotel, you're going to need a ladder truck, and some of these rural fire departments don't have that. We've had the opportunity to donate to hospitals, law enforcement, arts and sciences, city and state projects. Each one of the counties that we are sitting in, they automatically get $1 million a year for any type of projects that they would like to participate in. One of the things we do ask them to do is provide us if they're infrastructure projects, if they're transportation projects, just to have that checks and balance in place within a county commission.
But we had to make a decision back in 2008 whether we're going to compete in the film business. And while other states were deciding that they're going to cap or sunset some of their provisions, Louisiana comes to mind, along with North Carolina and others. And they lost out on the back end because that's where the credit on these states were given. Georgia was all in. And today, because we made that decision, we're a $12 billion industry. We do more films and movies than California. But, it's all about that decision, whether we're all in. And I just wanted to thank you because that took a lot of courage to make that decision back then whenever we weren't sure what the future was going to be. So you made the right decision. You were all in, and of course, the citizens in your area have benefited.
And I thought that this comment from the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Dubuque was pretty telling. And I quote, "I would tell any executive director from a Boys and Girls Club that if you can get gaming in your community, they are good. I think that overall, they're employing more people and they're providing more educated people with positions. They're having a positive impact."
Lottery has been such a tremendous success in providing money to the Hope Scholarship and to the university system. And that's how I look at that. And that continues to grow. That's the reason I continue to think that as long as that stays up and we give and provide the tools for that, then if the people of Georgia legislate and legalize brick and mortar casinos or horse racing or the bulk of sports betting, that's something that could go to another vital area of the state's needs.
When I go out and talk to groups, every single time I ask the question, how many of you are in this room are Hope Scholars, parents, graduates, or grandparents of Hope Scholars? We always get the big raise of the hand. But I really love asking the question of how many of you are Hope Scholars and have come back to your community, because that's when you know this has really worked. Your vision, the vision of Governor Miller, the legislature at the time, and everybody who has supported since then, it has worked. And so as you go into your communities, you're there daily and you're talking to groups, I would encourage you to ask that question, because it's really exciting to see that a lot of our Hope Scholars have not just stayed in Georgia, but have come back to their communities and are that next business generation.
We're talking about brick and mortar construction. We're talking about tourism, resorts that brings people into the state. Not just people in Georgia, but it brings other people in. The same way people go to Mississippi or Vegas or wherever they may go. We're talking about jobs in construction. That's real dollars. We're talking about jobs in material. We're talking about sales taxes paid. We're talking an industry. They're not like everybody else with their hand out. They want a tax credit.
Change is inevitable. A lot of things that I thought I would never see in Georgia that I have lived long enough to see. Now, it's obvious that there are two sides to this story. My biggest desire is, and I think that the people ultimately we have to believe enough in the people to give them the right to decide. The polls indicate that the people want to have a chance to weigh in on this. If the people want to have the chance to weigh in on it, I think they need to be given that opportunity. And I, for one, would hate to stand in the way of what even 60% of my constituents want, and they've made it very plain. And I would look forward to hearing from Georgia on this question.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking time to watch that. That was a synopsis of the 3 days of hearings, and we tried to put both sides, the pros and the cons, in there. That being said, I've already set the groundwork that you know what it takes to do. Now, what we'd like to do, anyone here that has questions or comments, I've started out, there's a sign-in sheet over here. I've got the first sheet, and if anyone else wants to sign in to be heard, if you would sign in. I'm going to start calling, going down the list. If you would, try to limit your comments or your questions, just to put them out there. So for the sake of redundancy, we can move forward. Any questions that you need an answer to specifically, ask the question. And between this panel up here, if I can't answer it, this panel will, I'm sure. And then we want to hear from you. First up, Mr. M.D. Roberts.
Welcome to Columbus. My name is U.D. Roberts, and I'm here just representing myself. I really appreciate y'all being here. I'm just coming probably most of all just to express two things. Number one, I'm a veteran from 50 years ago and stationed in Japan. And at that time, the military bases, you could have gambling. And I saw firsthand back 50 years ago how it devastated our troops, including myself, having access to the one-armed bandit right down this road. So have you done any economic, social studies on the impact of being near a military installation?
We haven't. But
Has anyone done any studies on that?
But I know across the country that, there's no rhyme or reason but casinos locate
Okay.
And obviously, a lot of those are near military installations. I know the one in Las Vegas is probably next to the largest territorial reservation there is.
So that's just one concern. I'm just, for you to consider and ponder the impact on our troops. I know a lot of people in the room can remember Phoenix City in 1954 and the trouble we had with Fort Benning and gambling in Phoenix City. The other area that I was going to mention was 27 years ago, we passed the lottery. I was very involved back then in educating the community, and I want to just leave this with you because just keep copies of this for you. This was a study done before the 92 lottery vote, and there was no real study done by the state on the economic impact. And my concern then was, for example, in Columbus, because and I did this economic study for the whole state, but particularly Columbus, and I came to council and presented it to them to let them be aware that there was like $22 million of disposable income would be redirected from goods and services to the lottery. That would be one issue. And the other thing was it was tax-free, so that $22 million would have been a loss of $227,000 sales tax that would have been not taken. They could have bought goods and services. So I did this study back then to show that the impact of the lottery on businesses. So what I would suggest, or once again implore you to do, is to look at the impact this would have, not only gambling, the impact it will have on the lottery, because instead of spending lottery dollars, it's going to go to this, and also on the other hotels, motels, other industries. I hope you've done a study on that too, to see the impact. So I just want to share this with you. I'm real concerned more about the veterans, about the soldiers, and the impact on them. And I wanted you to know that there's the economic impact. Now, just to consider that. I appreciate y'all being here.
I want to thank you for taking your time, and we might have a couple of members that might want to ask you a question.
You have any questions?
Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. It's a statement more than a question. Some 50 years ago, even though I was a mere toddler, I was serving in Vietnam, and I was in the Criminal Investigation Division. I saw many of the areas that you referred to. Now, I never had an arrest or an investigation as a result of an addiction. But I did have the occasion to have one of my units have to put Sergeant Major of the Army in the jail for kickbacks. Right. As far as Phoenix City goes, during that era, we had Phoenix cities all over Georgia. Right. And they didn't necessarily have to be in military areas. Highway 17 in some of my counties down there, one of my representatives, Representative Buckner, knows which county I'm referring to, down next door to me. We had as big a thing as Phoenix City, we just didn't get the headlines.
Right.
Now, one thing about corruption and crooks, if they think they can pull it off in the basement of the church, they'll do it. We can't do anything about that. But right. I do want you to know that I personally, haven't been in criminal investigation, I did not see a big increase. And yes, one of the things that we stated early on, a year or two ago, when we first started having serious discussions, we talked about, and I didn't think it was enough, and I'll push for more, we talked about a fund to deal with counseling and addiction right. and prevention. So, and it will be a responsibility, if we so see fit to approve this, for them to fund this fund to make sure that we can get some help.
One suggestion, I totally agree with you. When I was in the military, many people they lost their whole check when they got it. They would gamble their check away that day they got it. But here's the other thing I was going to mention. When we were going through the lottery discussion back in '92, I proposed or suggested that you take 1%, and you return the dollars to the metropolitan statistical area based on how much money was sent to the state, you would return 1% back to that MSA to be divided between the school board and the local government. So in other words, you could do it today. You could probably take the dollar and take 1 penny out of that and somehow return it back to the MSA to be divided between the school district and the municipality. I think that would allow some funds to come back to the community as far as cash flow to the community. I suggested that, and but at this point, I don't know if that would be a good idea or not, but this is something to think about. Okay? Thank you so much.
Any other questions from any of the committee? There's no more, and we thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Jimmy Blanton.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I greatly respect our elected officials on the state level and on the local level, Ms. Mimi and Skip Tomlinson, somebody said, I think. But anyway, the mayor's gone, but great respect Mr. Wright and all that he's done for our community. We've had so many people to do that, but today I sort of feel like Daniel. I'm in a lion's den. I think I'm one of a few that really has a passion not to see gambling come to the state of Georgia. When I see children who are hungry and their parents standing in the line to buy lotto tickets at the gas station today, it breaks my heart. I have a great passion to see righteousness prevail. As it's been said by someone, when I see the children of who are hungry and homeless standing in the lotto lines, I'm persuaded to say it is because somebody, excuse the English, but has snuck in and changed the price tags. We can talk about economic development all we care to talk about, and I am all for the Miss Mimi's district. I'm all for them having jobs and benefiting their lives, but I do not see in all of my reading, I've heard your facts, but I do not see the quality of life and the moral integrity of the city rising with any form of gambling. I have 2 daughters and a granddaughter that come downtown every day, and I am somewhat hesitant of them coming today, but in 10 years I will be even more hesitant if a casino is placed in Columbus. And in 10 years we might be looking back at this day and saying somebody snuck in and changed the price tags. We've had many millions of dollars invested in this community. When the Olympics started coming to us in '96, when I first came to Columbus in '95, I saw an energy that has never been captivated since. It's just continually rolled on. And those people who've invested their money, those who've invested their time, those companies that have given of themselves, our community is so rich today because of the good that's been done. And I would hate to see an industry come in that could bring destruction to that foundation that's been set. That's my passion, that's my heart. I know people disagree with me, and I'm all okay with that because you've shared with me your opinion, and I thank you for the time that I can share my opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Blanton. Dennis Smith.
Mr. Chairman and members of the legislature and the committee and our hosts, I came today representing a small organization in Forsyth, Georgia. It's called the Backlot Players, and indirectly I'm representing the Georgia Council of the Cultural Arts. a paper was presented by Alan Vella, and I'm sure you all have seen that, so I'm not going to leave it with you. I'm going to reiterate a point that was made in the paper, but clarify something. The point that he made was that the casinos had an unhealthy advantage, theoretically, over our kind of theater and entertainment, and that they could have consolidation of contracts. And one of the most damaging parts of this whole bill that you have crafted or in the process of doing so is the radius clause that would allow, that you have no control over, but that the entertainer could be banned from participating at another venue only 150 miles away. And our good friends from Macon, I'm sure, would not like to see the Centroplex or Macon Little Theater or Theater Macon not be able to get John Barry next year. For those of you who are familiar with Georgia's famous John Barry. That part aside, though, one of the other things that concerns me is when you speak in terms of the casino being in need of building a 3,500-seat entertainment emporium, if you look around the state of Georgia, with the exception of the Fox Theater and the exception of the baseball park and the football field, how many venues are there in Georgia that have more than 1,000 seats? So you're asking a rather hefty number to be committed to kind of put fancy wrapping paper over a package that is still gaming. When I listened to the presentation that you presented, I thought it was quite fair and that you offered both sides an opportunity to share an opinion. However, I'm going to put on my other hat. I'm retired. I spent 3 years as communications director for the Ohio Lottery, so I know that story extremely well. I then spent, after a 20-year hiatus while I was working in private industry for a major food company as advertising director, I spent 12 years as CEO of the 14th largest food bank in America in a suburb of Chicago. My organization was the recipient of a $100,000 grant about 6 years ago before I retired from the Grand Victoria Casino in Elgin. Every day that summer, though, we provided 500 free lunches to kids who were in need of food. I will not make the correlation between whether the child needing food was a child of a parent who gambled, but there is that concern that I have as a citizen of Georgia that when you start talking about allocation of funds, we spend a lot of time talking about funding the Hope Scholarship. Think in terms of as you craft this legislation, putting some money, kind of like Iowa has done, into the hands of those persons who are operating not-for-profit service organizations that help the populace of the state in other ways other than just education. Because a hungry child doesn't learn regardless of what the educational opportunity may be. But back to my original point, please be considerate of the many little theaters like the Rose Theater in Forsyth, where 3 weeks ago in November, we had 17 plays for kids ages 5, 6, and 7 and entertained 1,860 kids, and that would not have happened if we couldn't be open today. Thank you.
Much. Mrs. Vivian Bishop.
She just left.
All right.
She'll be back.
Wendy Lewis.
Yeah, they're together.
Rashisha Ali.
Good afternoon, committee. Thank you for hearing us. My name is Rashida Ali. I am a Columbus native and a 50-year veteran radio broadcaster. My career started in New York City, so I've seen a lot of gambling, and I know that I could stand here and talk and say things that you've already heard. I've been able to see that people leave Georgia to go over to Alabama and Tennessee to gamble because there's no law against gambling. I would say that in order for us to have our community thrive, I support this activity for gaming in Georgia. I know that it doesn't mean that all the money will come to Columbus because this is a Georgia thing, but right now a lot of people come from Atlanta and go over to Alabama, they go to Tennessee, they go wherever, South Carolina. They're leaving the money elsewhere and not in our own state. So because of that, I will support it. I think economic development is definitely what Columbus needs. I'm a community activist. I've worked on different projects in this town to make things happen, and I see the south side of Columbus thriving and growing, and I support this particular project, and I would hope that you would consider it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Adrian Chester.
Thank you all for taking time to come to Columbus to listen today. There are a few questions that I have, and I'm not for sure if you're prepared to answer those today, but I've left my contact information for follow-up to take place at the appropriate time. I heard mentioned in the video presentation one of the, I guess, gaming representatives speak of urban renewal, which is another word that I've come to understand as gentrification in some degree. So my first question, and as I said, just notate these and you can respond as appropriate to be respectful of time. What measures will be set in place either through the state level or through our local government to prevent gentrification? The second question is who foots the bill for the building of the infrastructure to build the destination resorts? What will the framework look like for what finances go to the state and what finances come directly to the community? And I know the local community will benefit primarily, I guess, from the sales taxes and things of that nature. And also consideration for clauses that has already been stated to protect the already established culture and art community in these local settings where this is being proposed. And also keep in mind, my next to the last thing, I am a Baptist preacher, so I have three last things, right? So my next to the last thing for you all to consider is to make sure that everything is contextualized, right? What works one place, and we hear the success stories may not work that way here in Georgia. So I know we are about truth and transparency, but also keep in mind that everything has to be contextualized. And then my last question, I promise you, I guess walk us through at some point in time, if you can't do it today, what will be the process of which casinos go where? Because as I saw on the video, there are multiple gaming representatives that made testimony, and I'm sure all of them are vying and having conversations, and there are only a select few places where these destination resorts can go. So just make sure that you inform the public of what that process will look like, whether that will be left up to the state legislature of, I guess who gets what contract, or is that through a private developer? Because when money, people, and conversations start, happening and the public may not know about, they're sometimes cast some shade or doubt. So those are my questions, and I know I ask a lot that would require probably some lengthy discussion. So thank you for your time, and if I need to email those questions to anyone, please let me know so that you can give me an on-the-record or an off-the-record response. Thank you so much.
Preacher, if you'll stand right there, I'll give you an on-the-record answer to most of them if I can remember all of them, because this is a hearing.
Yes, sir.
As I had said earlier, the process is a constitutional amendment that the people vote on in Georgia, and that's to say yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, the enabling legislation is where the meat and potatoes of how it will be operated. First, I would tell you that in Georgia, it would be operated by, if approved by the voters of Georgia, a gaming commission.
Thank you.
Highly regulatory. Across this country, all the gaming commissions and what has been learned over the years with gaming is they need to have a regulatory structure, not just for the collection of the taxes and the revenues, but to be sure that these type of facilities are run in a certain order and that they're under control. Secondly, I will tell you as a footnote to that is that most of these casinos, this isn't like going up and opening up a shoebox gambling hall somewhere. These are destination resorts. The gaming is only part of that. That's the adult entertainment that brings people to a resort the way they do everywhere else. Trying to remember all your questions. Revenue. Well, first before I get into the revenue, the way I envision it and the way I think that it would pass as a constitutional amendment, if the people of Georgia decide to vote yes for gambling, and gambling meaning sports betting, horse racing, casinos. If they do that, there would have to be a second referendum that would have to be held in the counties of or the counties and say in your county here in Muskogee. If y'all had decided that y'all wanted it, there'd have to be a referendum, sort of like a liquor referendum, to decide if the people of this county want it. If they don't want it, hey, the will of the people is what matters at the end of the day. If some areas want it, then they'll vote in favor of it. But then you've got another part of that, and it's called a business model. Who builds these casinos? The companies that own the casinos, the stockholders of those companies. They build them. The day that the mob owned all the casinos in Las Vegas went out 30 years ago because it collapsed under that. The owners of those today are the Walt Disneys of the world and those type of companies today. They're entertainment. Revenue. If a county wanted one and if the Gaming Commission approved it, and I'm saying very restrictive, that they would have to decide in a business model, would a casino, who would build put $1 billion investment in the ground of something that wouldn't be feasible? And the Gaming Commission, as part of their responsibility to be sure that where these things are built has a good business model and they're viable. I can tell you personally from what little bit I have sat back and listened to, I'm a pretty big supporter of horse racing because I think it's the great American sport. Unfortunately, horse racing, people don't go and race horses. You go to Hawkinsville over here where they've got one of the oldest harness tracks in the country, but it's all for fun because they can't wage on a horse race legally in the state of Georgia. Horse racing itself would be $1 billion plus agricultural boost to the agricultural economy in Georgia, the raising of horses and the farms and all that stuff that goes with it. The casino gambling, brick and mortar structures, jobs, economic development and all of that. Sports betting, probably the one form of gambling that's being asked for by certain quarters in the state, the athletic teams and stuff like that. No jobs per se, no brick and mortar, no tax benefits, but it's just basically because everything is being app-based now on sports betting. You can bet they estimate that Georgia is the 14th largest marketplace for sports betting in the country because you got your telephone, you put an app on there, you download money into it, and you're betting with somebody in the Caribbean on whatever team you want to bet on. So the benefits to the local governments, the tourist factor is one. Tax structure, hotel motel tax would be pretty phenomenal. Sales tax options to the local governments would be phenomenal. Me personally, and I'm only one of 180 members in the House and 57 members in the Senate, I tend to believe that any of the gross gaming taxes on gross gaming needs to go to the number one hole in the state budget, healthcare. The number one area. The lottery went to education, and it's still doing well. I remember when I sat on the committee as a young legislator, and I remember they preached our funeral in those hearings that day. That gambling, the lottery was the ruination, it would be the end of the state. Within a few years, you couldn't find anybody had anything bad to say because most of the preachers' children and grandchildren was
Lord,
going to college
help,
off of it.
Say, situational ethics.
So, you
Yes,
know,
sir.
I don't argue one way or another about the pros or the cons. This is up to the people of Georgia to make that decision. But it would be revenue and it would be jobs. I think what we heard in the testimony was that most of the casinos, you would be looking at a $750 to a $2 billion investment in these structures. That goes directly on the tax digest of a county.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, I mean, it's so many other ins and intricacies to this, but we have some members that might wish to address that. Mr. Williams.
You mentioned one. I just want to mention one in particular that's dear to my heart too, gentrification. We don't hear much about it in Georgia, but it's already here. But my suggestion is, and this is the way I personally feel, and I want to see the people have a chance to vote, but I think part of my reason to help is that there's an understanding in most developers, and I've seen several of the plans, are not developing housing around. But I think that your city government and your government authorities locally needs to have a plan in place for gentrification or mixed income housing so that nobody gets forced out and everybody can live together. Because I agree with you, it's potentially a problem, but it is not between the potential casino owners and the community. It's going to be between the community and the governmental leaders to make sure that what's happening in Washington, D.C. does not happen in Columbus, Savannah, or in Atlanta.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Collins.
may, one thing I'd like to mention to you, and you asked about infrastructure. One of the things I was very impressed with, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Mr. Chairman, but the Wynn Casino Resort that they built up in Boston, I think that was about a $5 billion project. Isn't that right?
$2.5 billion.
So overall, the impact. But one of the things that really impressed me was the tens of millions of dollars that they shared with us in testimony, that they committed to local infrastructure projects where transportation was concerned in the city of Boston, that they had worked with their Department of Transportation, being overseen by their Department of Transportation, and completed a whole host of transportation projects that had been on the back burner for a very long time. And so that was one of the things, coming from my background in local government, that was very important to me to know exactly who's going to fund some of these infrastructure issues that will come up if this come to fruition. So that was something I just wanted to interject there. Maybe that puts your mind at ease somewhat.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Reverend Chester, one of the questions that you had posed to the chairman and the committee was the process of the casinos and how they're allocated and where they go. There's two parts to this process. Of course, the chairman has talked about both of them. One is the constitutional amendment, and the other one is the statutory bill. And of course, the constitutional amendment is the one hurdle, and then the statutory bill is another process. And the constitutional amendment, of course, if the public says yes, then we'll have to start and come up with a bill to deal with it statutorily, which would then allocate how many will be in the state, what the criteria would be, what the investment cost would be, et cetera, with all the other questions thereof. And of course, different parts of the state are different revenues and be applicable in that fashion. So, Atlanta would be possibly a region. Other parts of the state would be a region and allocation thereof. I mean, you couldn't build a $2 billion casino in Columbus, Georgia. So therefore, you'd have to have a tier process. as to what casino was built where and how many would be built in the state and what the criteria would be for those, that specific designation resort. So that's just, I just wanted to clear that up a little, but your question is very pointed in light of the fact that we are in the process, but that two-tier process, the Constitution Amendment, then the statutory bill. So the Constitution Amendment will be the legality side of it, because the only people that can do that is the public, is you and the public. And then, of course, if the public says yes, that's when the legislature will deal with the statutory side, will deal with all of these questions that you talked about and you gave us.
All right. I thank you all for sharing, and like I said in my questioning, just remember everything is contextualized, right? And I'm sure that you all remember that, and also remember those clauses as it relates to our already established art and cultural venues around the state of Georgia, and just look at everything holistically. So I thank you all for taking the time to come down and listen to us here in Columbus. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Heather Stanley.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here and for allowing us this time to speak. My name is Heather Stanley, and I am here wearing a couple of different hats. I'm the president of the Georgia Presenters, which is a statewide block booking consortium of live performance venues and theaters around the state, and I'm also your neighbor in Americus. I run the Rylander Theater. I'm the managing director there for the last 10 years. We heard from Alan Vela on the video, and we heard from Mr. Smith earlier, so I'm going to abbreviate my comments in the interest of time. I'm not here. The purpose is not to tell you that we should take a stand on whether or not the state should legalize gambling and allow casinos. Obviously, that's going to be up to our voters. But I'm here to sort of educate the committee and some of the public here on the unintended consequences of the casino resorts and the destination resorts. Our goal with the Georgia Presenters Network is to bring the highest quality entertainment at the most affordable prices to our communities. Now, there are 54 members currently in almost as many counties around the state. And we range from all volunteer with absolutely no budget that scraped together $1,000 to put on a show in the courthouse square, to beautiful Broadway houses that do national tours of shows, you know, bus and truck shows for a week at a time. And again, you heard from from Alan Vela, the CEO of the Fox, but the Fox is not the only player at the table, but the reason that they have an interest in this is based on the revenue that theaters like the Fox makes. The Fox has actually they've contributed $1.8 million in preservation and block booking grants across the state to theaters like mine. I am a small theater in a county of 32,000 people. Guess what happens in Atlanta? Doesn't affect us. It does in a lot of ways, but what happens in Atlanta tends to take a lot longer to trickle down to Southwest Georgia. We're 32,000 people in our county, 17,000 people in our city of Americus. The predatory buying practices that we've been talking about, you've already heard, you know, exactly what that is. And Representative Harrell, in the video, he called our concerns about those predatory buying practices far-fetched, but it isn't far-fetched for me to be able to work with and present artists that would be here in Columbus. Right now, I can work with the Springer, I can work with the River Center, I can work with the Albany Civic Center and Municipal Auditorium, with Tifton. I have these options, and I am nicely situated where I am in Americus. And it's not far-fetched for our 4 theaters in the Savannah area to be prevented from presenting an artist because of these buying practices. Representative Harrell also, in his comments back to Mr. Vela, referenced that, you know, DC and Boston markets are doing just fine and you have casino resorts there. But DC and Boston markets, and dare I say, the Atlanta markets, can support multiple entertainment venues and entertainment opportunities. And I'm more concerned with my community and the smaller communities of the Georgia presenters. Like I said, there's 54 of us, and we're almost in 54 counties. We've got some that are, we've got 4 in, I think it's in Cobb County. We have 4 different venues in Cobb County. So I'm more concerned with how it's going to affect those of us further away. If there was, a casino resort in Savannah or here in Columbus, that could affect smaller theaters like mine and small communities like mine. My theater's about to turn 100 years old, January of 2021. We are an economic driver in our community. So we talk a lot about the economic impact. This is a committee on economic growth. So let's look and remember that these smaller venues that could be pushed out, they do make an economic impact in our communities. We're not afraid of competition, and building our business models, they grow and they evolve as long as the playing field is fair and consistent. So I just want to leave you with this. We are memory makers. We are tradition creators. We make an economic impact in our communities, and we matter. So we thank you for your consideration, and we thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions.
A quick question, and I've heard this before, and I can appreciate, I live in a small community, and we have a theater down in Brunswick called the Ritz.
Yes, sir.
And we have the place in Savannah. But my problem is, and I'm trying to wrap my head around this, I don't see the casinos as competition with America's. Y'all ain't playing Hamilton, right now.
I wish we could.
So, what I'm saying
that is absolutely fair, and I do understand that. And that is not, something like that is not going to affect, Americus is not going to bring in Hamilton. The Tybee Post Theater is not going to bring in Cirque du Soleil. But there are certain solo artists. Take an artist like, Vince Gill, or I just did a show called Cruising Steady, which was the life and times of Smokey Robinson and Aretha Franklin. That had Broadway actors. It's a Broadway caliber show that I was able to bring to Americus. But if a casino, which is not always going to play, stadiums, they may have smaller seating houses. They might have picked up, because these are Broadway known actors, they might have picked them up, and that exclusivity, paying above market value, or not market value, but market price, things like that, smaller shows, it's not always, but you're right, it's not always going to be the Hamiltons and the Cirque du Soleil, but there are smaller shows, and there are artists who will play the casinos. There's comedians. A lot of comedians, they play houses like mine that seat 621 people, and then they'll turn around and play a casino, or they'll play, somewhere like the Fox, Cobb Energy Center. So it's not just the big Broadway musicals that you're thinking of. We actually do have a legitimate concern.
I can appreciate you, and certainly I empathize with you, and certainly whatever is in my power to look out for you. But Chris Rock ain't coming either. You're on a different tier. We used to call it the Chitlin Circuit. See, some of them, Beyonce ain't coming to Savannah.
Right.
One day she'll be glad to get there.
Right. No, I'm familiar with that term. Yes, sir.
How about Al Green?
My theater was on it, as a matter of fact.
How about Al Green? Can we get Al Green somewhere?
No, Al can't come.
Any other questions? Yeah, I've heard this discussion, and I remember very much the guy at the Fox. And of course, I'm somebody that believes in free enterprise.
Absolutely.
And I've been trying to chase this down in my mind, because you're the second or the third that said something about the arts in the smaller theaters. And I'm hard pressed, and I'm still trying to figure it out, work it through in my mind, how, if there was a resort casino, how this would affect the smaller communities. We're talking about there might be 6 or 7 destination casinos in the state of Georgia, maybe. And I've looked at it, you're talking about one probably in Fulton County.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
I know you're talking about the Atlanta Motor Speedway at Hampton.
Yes.
They've already made the announcement. If the people of Georgia legalize gambling,
Right, they've released their plans.
they're going to
and their
spend $1
drawings.
billion to overhaul the surrounding property around Atlanta and have a NASCAR-based theme park with casino gambling for adults and all the other stuff, rides and all that for the kids and all that. I would guess that we would talk about maybe the possibility of one in Columbus
Yes.
that would reach across the borders in surrounding areas. Going around the state, we had a hearing down in Valdosta. They are now interested because they would capture or part of that Jacksonville, Tallahassee market.
North Florida, yes, sir.
Possibly St. Mary's, and I just thought to myself when it was threw out at me, I couldn't believe it. St. Mary's would consider that they'd consider, but it's a business model that would focus toward the Jacksonville market. You get up to Savannah probably, and then of course Augusta. So you know you're talking about 6 or 8. I don't think America will ever have a casino, and I don't know who else would, but that would be the duty of the Gaming Commission.
Right.
One, to evaluate the business model upon application for a license and what they do. One of the things that was interesting to me in those testimonies a few months ago, I listened to these folks, and you know, quite frankly, the revenue structure and what casinos and these operators do varies from state to state.
Okay.
The sweet spot on gross gaming tax is roughly 20%. 15 to 20% is the sweet spot for that. But then I listened to Iowa, a state of 3.5 million people, roughly a third the size of Georgia. And I heard what they do up there. They have a 27% tax. I think 20% or so goes to the state, but then the other part of that tax is distributed between the local governments, the adjoining counties to local governments, to not-for-profits, and all of this. And then to answer a question I think that came from somebody else earlier, you know, about infrastructure. I don't know how y'all deal with your economic development down here, but I'm sure y'all aren't any different than my folks up in North Georgia. We started a terrible practice 50 years ago, and that was paying people to come and put a business in our districts. Tax abatements. We just built 3 new German auto parts manufacturers in my county. We, the taxpayers of our county, we spent $50 million for land. We put in the sewer, we put in the water, we put in the infrastructure. Then we sold it at a bargain to each industry. Of course, we've got 8 or 10 industries up there now. But we sold those to the various industries at a basement price, bargain basement price. But the thing that's always been troublesome to me was that we gave them tax abatements. You didn't have to pay a dime in taxes the first year. You paid 10% the second and on up to 10 years. When I was a county commissioner in 1980, we did the same thing up there, and when Dunlop Auto Equipment, Dunlop tennis ball manufacturer, at the end of that 10-year period, when their tax abatements ran up, they shuttered the building and moved to the Philippines. I don't know what kind of business y'all do as far as enhancing industry to come, but that's almost a practice today. They play one state against the other, one city against the other. They want freebie tax breaks, but then at the end it's done. This is the one industry so far that I've listened to testimony, they ain't asking nobody to give them squat. If a city if they want to locate in the county and they need better roadways or more roadways, or they need water, sewer, gas, infrastructure, they need a bigger fire department. That's in the negotiations. And they generally do it because they want to be good neighbors. What comes with that is the housing and all of that we talked about a while ago. So I'm at odds about this thing, though, about how a casino somewhere else could affect y'all. I heard the testimony with the Fox, and to me it was the most disingenuous, quite honestly, and I don't mean to be insulting to that guy from the Fox. But to me, it was the most disingenuous testimony I'd ever heard. Because knowing that the state of Georgia gives the Fox tax incentives, they get things nobody else gets. So why not let the free market? But can you tell me how this, I'm having problems wrapping my hand around how these businesses could affect little town business. I'm like Al. I don't think you're going to have Hamilton or.
We're not going to be competing for Hamilton, no, sir. And I appreciate what you're saying very much. Our concern, and let me put my Georgia Presenters hat back on right now. We have a lot of members of our group who are either municipally owned or they are part of the University System of Georgia. And they're not able to sign off on a letter. They're not able to, come to these listening sessions and speak. So we've sort of shared these concerns amongst ourselves. We already lose a lot of audience to Atlanta, to Macon, to Columbus, to Tallahassee. And we're all around the state, we're struggling for our artists, for our patrons to continue, to see the value in doing something in your own backyard. We're bringing the highest quality entertainment at the most affordable prices so that we can retrain and we can reteach our patrons that homegrown is good, that what you have in your backyard is just as good. We keep that money local. We talk about the economic impact of the arts when we host an event at my theater in Americus and take our average patron as a couple. Typically, they go out to dinner, they may have drinks beforehand, they may buy a new tie, they may pay a babysitter, they got to get gas, they've got to, there are a lot of touchstones throughout the community. So the more that we can keep these people close to home and convince them that they don't have to go to Atlanta, to Columbus, to Macon, Augusta, Savannah, to have an evening of high-quality entertainment, the better off our local economy is going to be. We will always have competition. There's always going to be Hamilton at the Fox. There's always going to be Chris Rock at Cobb Energy Center. There's always going to be something pulling our patrons away. And that's the business we're in, and we know that. We knew that when we got into this business. We're not the only game in town anymore. I have one of our presenters who says, and he's in Marietta, and you know how much there is to do in Marietta, especially on the square. And he views it as, he said, my biggest competition is Netflix, getting people off their couches and back out into the theater. That's what he sees as his biggest competition. But he too would be, it would be to his detriment because he may not be able to get entertainment that would get people off their couches and into his theater if, that artist were playing one of our destination resorts.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I've actually been to the Windsor Hotel
Yes, sir.
several times.
Yeah.
A group from Milledgeville
Okay.
goes down to the Murder Mystery Play.
Yes, sir.
And we've enjoyed going down there. But you're right, and that was going to be my comment. The society has changed so much. Netflix is the biggest competition that you have. But appealing to small towns and having like the Murder Mystery Theater and things at the Windsor, it's been a delightful experience several times for my group coming down.
I hope you found everybody in our community very gracious and welcoming.
Very much so, very much so. Thank you.
Any question? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, Mr. Jed Harris. I know that name from an earlier life.
Boy, he must be old. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And to members of the audience, I promise to be brief. Mr. Chairman, if I slip and call you by your first name, please forgive me, because I know you by your first name.
I've been called so many things, I'd probably be grateful.
Same for Representative Smyrie. As I was sitting there, I thought of the Yogi Berra, the baseball player, his little anecdote. This is like deja vu all over again. And I thought back to 1991 and 1992 when you and I served on the House Industry Committee, which took up the Georgia Lottery. And then, of course, Representative Smyrie, we were there, the three of us were there. And I know when we walked in from the parking garage, I said to you and Representative Williams that I remember Speaker Murphy said before we cast that critical vote, he got our attention and said, for many of you, this will end your public service career. But anyway, just a few quick points. Columbus, which is my hometown, is a wonderful community. We benefit from so much. However, these past few years, according to the Georgia Department of Labor Statistics, which you have access to, we have ranked near the bottom as far as job growth. And I encourage you to do a fact check on that. It seems like that we've been just above Albany the past few years. So we need more jobs. Thinking back to 1991 and 1992, and as I recall, we had 2 full days of hearings in the Appropriations Committee room. And we were told of all the bad things that would, happen as a result of the lottery. Now, let me say, I don't gamble. I'm gonna raise my hand and say, I don't gamble, whether it's casino gambling, I never have. And I might buy $10 worth of lottery tickets a year. So I don't consider that really, gambling. However, having thought about the pros and the cons of this, I'm very receptive to this. I believe it would benefit our community. And in closing, I will say back what I heard 30 years ago, and the chairman, and by the way, Chairman Powell and I were sworn in on the same day, 1991. And but I remember 30 years ago when I was a candidate for the General Assembly, people stopped me as I went through the neighborhoods, canvassing. And they said, well, how are you going to vote on this? And my ultimate conclusion was to let the people decide. And that's what I encourage you today is pass it through the General Assembly, have the appropriate safeguards, and let the public decide. So I thank you for being here. And if I can do anything to help you, I'm available. Any questions, by the way? One term. And I jokingly said is redistricting, and that's a whole different story, but I said, and Alan and Calvin know it, I say the good Lord sent me home from the state capitol, or I probably would, and sent me home to help raise my children. So, but I'm still, as people here know, I'm still very involved in the community. And
did the lottery help the good Lord send you home?
No, the lottery didn't have a thing to do with it. No, it was the U.S. Justice Department had a lot to do with it, but that's a different story for a different time. But
there's some things that, as you're saying, there's some things in politics that's a whole lot more dangerous than voting to give people the right to vote. It's called reapportionment.
Yeah. But I will say, in my opinion, what we did in 1991 and 1992, which was Governor Zell Miller's, it was his idea, is quite possibly the most significant piece of legislation that the General Assembly has passed during the past half century. So, so I look at this as, well, where would we be without the Hope Scholarship? And I think we're so much better for it. So I'm open-minded to this, and certainly we need more jobs in Columbus.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any questions for Jed? Jed, thank you.
It was a pleasure serving with your husband, too.
Thank you, Jed. All right. Pauline Johnson. Gone. Felicia Davis. Danita Lloyd.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank y'all for gaming in Georgia. I am the proud mother of recipients of HOPE. Only thing, they decided to go out of state and we couldn't take HOPE with us. But thank you for keeping HOPE alive for all those folks that it did benefit. So I'm all for responsible gaming, and I think it's important. I am really thrilled with the opportunity to consider Columbus as a location, because I know what it could do for our great city. I appreciate the opportunity for us to have economic development, jobs. I mean, I think about the opportunity for me to actually have a vacation, a staycation right here in my great city, an opportunity to go to a spa, because see, not all of us that go to casinos are necessarily going to gamble. Some of us just want to get away for a moment. And so an opportunity to have a nice dinner, to go to an event, to go to a spa, to go to some of those shops that are there, and to see all of the other development that happens as a result of that. I've been a military instructor for the past 10 years out at Fort Benning. I've had an opportunity now to have about 40,000 soldiers to sit in my classroom as we teach them about personal finance. Inevitably, when the families come in for graduation, they're always asking, well, what can we do? Well, I share with them the things that they can do, but also let them know that, well, you know, we're building, we're growing, but a lot of these families also come and have no problem getting on a bus and going across the river and going over to Alabama. I would like for us to keep some of those dollars right here in our city, because I think we need those dollars in our city. So as a Georgian native, a Columbus, Georgia resident, 52 years here, I want to see my city grow, and I would very much like to have the citizens of our great state to vote on this, and for responsible gaming to be here in the state of Georgia in a limited capacity, but for one of those wonderful places to be right here in Columbus, Georgia, where we can anchor all of the tremendous tourism that happens in our city anyway on the south side there, anchoring everything that happens on the beautiful banks of the Chattahoochee River. So I'm all for it. Thank you for an opportunity to allow us to speak on this important issue of the day, because if it brings jobs and that brings growth and economic development and improves the quality of lives of our people, then I'm all for it. So thank you for that, and let's continue to keep hope alive. Let's bring hope with gaming to the state of Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you. I do believe you could be a poster child for the positive virtues of voting in favor. All right. Alec, and I cannot make this last name out. Does that look like you? Did you make that out?
Just say Alec's hard name. He don't know who he is.
Alex Hagler?
That's good. They're going.
No? All right. Billy Duncan? Billy Duncan? Freddie Wilson?
All right. Somebody didn't go to the casino in Alabama. They all left.
First of all, I'm glad to see you all here.
Little louder.
First of all, I'm glad to see you all are here. And my name is Freddie Wilson. I'm retired, and I charter buses from here to the casinos. And doing that, I had met a lot of people from other areas, for instance, like Atlanta, Macon, Augusta, Fort Valley, Warner Robin, Albany, Valdosta, Cosita, and other places. So those people have to travel through Columbus, Georgia to get to Alabama or Louisiana. So I'm here to say that I wish the voter would have a part in this, and to make sure that we do get the casino here. And also, I will listen to the news the other day where our police department salary is $2,000 lower than some of the other communities, surrounding communities. So with this casino coming here, if we get it, and then that could boost some of the salaries and things here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Willis. Mark Swift.
Good afternoon, committee. Thanks for allowing us to speak. I appreciate the American Constitution that gives us the right to speak. And that's what I'm here to do today. Took time out of my day to come to make sure I can voice my opinion. And in 2003, God moved my wife and I, and 2 of my kids, I have 5 kids now, one of them's with me, and to move here to plant a church because we wanted to bring something good to Columbus. We wanted to bring something healthy and wholesome to Columbus. I never heard of Columbus, Georgia until I was in my office at a church down in Florida, and I got an email from another pastor, and one of y'all from Snellville, right, area, I think. But a pastor emailed me and told me about this city called Columbus, and my heart burned for the city. So we moved here in 2003. I didn't have a job, found a place to live off of Warm Springs Road, an apartment. Later that week, God provided me a job through the city paper. I worked for the Ledger Enquirer for a time period to help take care of my family. And my whole desire to move here was to bring holiness and righteousness to a beautiful city right here on the river. And so Columbus to me is a historic city. Columbus to me is a family city. Columbus to me is a military city. I've learned to fall in love with our military forces as a young man growing up in your area of Cobb County. I went to Lassiter High School for a time. But I've learned more about the military than ever before by living here in our great city. We're a military city. We're a diverse city, aren't we? We've got all kinds of people living in our city, don't we? It's a beautiful city. It's a growing city. It's an important city. It's a city that's making a difference, and I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm a pastor of a small church here in Columbus, Georgia called Calvary Chapel, and my sentiment is to say no. My Lord and Savior Jesus said in Luke 9:25, "For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world, but himself be destroyed?" To lose his soul. And I don't want to see the soul of Columbus, Georgia, that which has been growing already, to be damaged. And I understand. I saw the video. Thanks for giving pros and cons. That was wonderful. I learned a lot. And I am so for economic development in our city. I'm proud to be the chaplain of the West Georgia Search and Rescue Team. I'm proud to have gone through the Pastoral Academy here at the police department. I'm a proud citizen here. And so my voice would be to say no to that. But yes to economic development, yes to jobs, yes to hotels, and yes to things that are going to promote things that are going to bless this city and grow this city, enhance this city in the way that we want it to grow. We want our kids to grow up in morality, not immorality. And so that would be my voice to share with you all. And I do appreciate y'all listening to me and giving me a moment of your time. Thank you very much, and God bless you guys.
Thank you,
Any
sir.
questions for me?
You closed the door. When you close your Bible, I wasn't going to ask you nothing.
Oh, come on, I can open it back up. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Dr. Hood.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. J. Aleem Hood. I'm a community social planner. There's a book I'd like to encourage you, committee members, and of course, again, thank you to the chairman and the esteemed panel that you have. It's called The Rich Get Richer and the Poor Get Prison. Now, I say that because I come to speak about solutions. I'm not going to address the issue because, again, the citizen will decide as far as gaming is concerned. But my contention is that whatever institution or organization or business comes to provide economic development, that we have a growing gap between the haves and the have-not, even in Columbus, Georgia, in the state of Georgia. And I want to speak specifically that I hope that at this early stage that you would consider putting into the DNA of this effort for economic renewal throughout the state. And that is, one is that our juvenile facilities are overrun. They're filled to the rafters. We are considering more and more prisons. We're considering our jails are packed. One of the reasons is because we have a generation of hopeless young people. And my contention is that there are 3 initiatives that I hope that not just run through the city government, do it, but I think that should be in the DNA. One is, I think there needs to be urban job corps that will come from the proceeds. What I mean by that is that we have too many young people murdering, killing, robbing. We have sex trafficking. You know all the social problems. But my contention there goes back to economic anemia. And my thing is that we need our young people to provide opportunities in the building trades. An urban job corps would mean that all of these housing situations, the young people will get a trade of some sort, whether they drop out of school or otherwise, that they will be able to be gainfully employed, even self-employed, to do something as opposed to picking up drugs and other illegal activities as a part of that. We have returning citizens, as you know, coming back from prison. I work with them, and of course, many times, because of their background, there are jobs they can't get. But I think that this can be an economic engine to provide, again, building and trade opportunities. And I'm not talking about 1,000, I'm talking about tens of thousands of young people and adults who need an opportunity to get perhaps what I call urban job training. There's a program called Project Build. Some of you might be familiar with it. I think that that's a part of the issue as well, that we have in the reentry programs. They should not come back wondering and having to pick up drugs again or violence again in order to pay their probation. They should have a job coming out, but they need a trade. So we're going to have to get out of our comfort zone, and as we elevate and consider new ways of economic development, let's make sure that that's connected to the poor and the grassroots citizens that are lingering in our jails, because we have what we call a school-to-prison pipeline. We can do something about that if we truly, not just run it through more tax revenue for the government, no, put it specifically in opportunity to make sure that everyone, particularly our young people, younger generation, will have opportunities for economic future with trades that they can actually take into the marketplace. Thank you. If there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you so much. Alton Russell.
Well, good afternoon. I also want to thank y'all for coming to Columbus. And in the interests of economic development, I hope while y'all here, you'll spend some money. If you're not here for that, well then whatever your second reason is will be okay too. I've heard a lot of things that's going on today and this morning and this afternoon, and the discussion that I've heard has been real good, and I like the video. But the thing that bothers me the most is, Mr. Chairman, when you said all this and maybe Columbus, and then Calvin, Mr. Smyer, your definition and you're talking about the process went through I understand about the constitutional amendment, and I understand about the part of the legislature deciding on what you call it, the
enabling legislation.
Enabling legislation. Well, I might be incorrect on this, but I have heard that there was a couple of bills in the House or the Senate right now that pertains to the enabling legislation. And I also, correct or not, have heard that it's more than one, like 3 or 4 different bills that may be working its way through, but only one of those bills includes Columbus, Georgia. So here's my question. I like what the young man said about we're a military city and we're a growing city and we're all that kind of stuff makes plenty of sense. I just want y'all to tell me what we need to do to make sure we're not a left out city. Because that's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about what y'all gonna do to make sure Columbus is not on the last list down here and get nothing. And we come in here and y'all want us to vote yes or no. And, you know, and I understand the yes vote is what seems to be, by your stats, the thing that we ought to do. Well, if I vote yes, and y'all say, okay, we're going to put one in Atlanta, oh, of course you would. There's no reason to think that would not be true. Second one, you're going to put in Savannah. Well, I can, you know, they're as far away from the center of Georgia as Columbus is. You know, if you look at a straight line from Columbus to Savannah, it's a straight line, pretty close. So we're as far to the east, to the west, as Savannah is to the east, and we're about 100 miles or so south of Atlanta. So if we do Atlanta, okay. You do Savannah, okay. But dadgummit, you need to do Columbus and not just... So listen, we have been hearing maybe Columbus. We've been hearing the process. You know, gosh, only because of a lot of hard work, you know, we got us a little rinky-dink interstate. I-185 is a connector, not even an interstate. Y'all talking about a road to go from Savannah up to LaGrange. You're going to bypass Columbus again. So listen, so all I'm saying is don't make us a left-out city. That's all I'm asking you. And you know, and I'm not asking you to vote today, but dadgummit, I hope you will. I need you to pay attention. Because we're going to pay attention. And I'm really concerned about that. Have I made my point that I'm concerned about it?
You made it, sir.
I appreciate your time, and I appreciate all. Okay, I'm good. Listen, I appreciate what y'all do every day. I really do. So, yes, sir. What kind of questions? I'll do my best to answer. If I don't know the answer, I'll make it up. You'd think I was in the legislature, wouldn't you? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Your way back to your seat.
I can do that. I can do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I've known Alton Russell for a long time. You can keep going, though. Don't stop. Don't come back. I've known him for a long time, and he's never been shy on opinion. But your point is well taken. Yeah, I'm from Columbus. And these other legislators from other parts of the state. So we'll have to wait and continue our dialogue. I just remind you there are 357 cities in the state of Georgia. They all have representation, and that's the political process. So I feel the way you feel, but there is a process. And we're going to go through the process, and when we get to the table of negotiations, then we'll go in that fashion. But until we get there, we're going to continue our process of seeking input from the public, and at the appropriate time, we'll have a deliberation as to where the stake in the ground will go. Until that time, we will cease and desist. But thank you very much for your comments.
All right, Napoleon Johnson.
Hello, and thank you for your time. I'm Napoleon Johnson. First time being here. I just had a couple questions. Well, I do want to double down on how will Columbus benefit, like the young gentleman just said. When watching the video, that's one of the things I was thinking. Also, right now, we're with the holistic, the guy, he said something about a holistic point of view. Right now, we have the bargaining chips after it's passed and after we vote and after we say yes. We no longer have bargaining chips, and then the hotels are going to come in, well, the gambling commissions are going to come in and do what they want. But my thing is now, is there a way that we can make sure that the gambling buildings, whatever they are, one, are net negative or like energy efficient? Can we build that into the legislation, making that a thing? So we are pretty much getting a hotel. I mean, it's already a vice. So if you're doing something that causes a vice, you should probably offset it with something positive. So is it a way for us to build net negative buildings so then that way we could be getting power back to our grid and maybe we could sell that off and have another source of income? Another question, he mentioned the gentrification and things like that. If you're afraid of going up against these corporate international companies and all that good stuff. Amazon just went to Hudson Yards, so I feel like that gives you a little bit of bandwidth and mojo to stand on your feet and toes to say, okay, we're gonna kind of hold out and see what we might necessarily need, might necessarily not. And also, if Atlanta gets a casino, I don't see people going anywhere else in Georgia. People already go to Atlanta. That's the vacation, the go-to destination for young people across every country, whether it be all the places that the other gentleman named, Valdosta, Opelika, even Opelika, things like that. People go to Atlanta from all over, so I don't necessarily see that. If Atlanta gets the billion-dollar big guy resort and then Savannah gets one, why would they come to Columbus is the question. So those are some of my thoughts. I understand that if it's going to be pushed through, it's going to be pushed through. It's not anything that we can do. Y'all are going to lobby for it and make, voters feel like it'll work. But, those are just some things I'm saying that y'all can go into, the chambers and councils and say and use those as weapons, if you will. I think, oh yeah, one more thing. Gambling addiction services. So if they're going to come in and bring gambling, I feel like it should be instituted that, okay, some of the profits you have to have this. They have to have a sustainable gambling addiction services, like a DUI class or anything like that. The casino should foot that bill. We shouldn't do it. I mean, of course, you want industries and all that good stuff, but they should be able to have that in built into them coming into it. Because like I said, right now, all the chips are on our table and they're trying to get our business. So we should have a strong list of demands and a thought out process and a plan for when they do come, that we don't become this whole Sin City thing again.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
One of the things I'd like to add is, to me, the keys to the developmental kingdom belong to your local government. I mean, you're going to have the enabling legislation that sets forth some requirements, but as far as what you're referring to about architectural standards, some things where, you lessen the carbon footprint of a development, those kind of things, those can be done within your local development standards and should be. So each area can determine what they would like the scope of that project to look like. That's just my opinion coming from local government. The other thing I wanted to mention too is Chairman Ron Stevens. You may have saw him on the video. He's been working on some of this resort destination legislation for several years. And one of the things that he's made it very clear that he wants to pursue, and I know that I don't speak for necessarily all the members here on this panel, but that was one of the pieces of the legislation he wants to work real hard on, and he mentioned it in the video about the mental health component and making sure that we don't just provide window dressing in the terms of, oh, we're going to help those with addictions, but make sure that there's some real substance there that does help those and help identify those who do have substance abuse issues, especially where you're concerned in the casino gambling portion.
Thank you, sir. I forgot your name. I didn't hear.
Napoleon.
Oh, Napoleon. How did I forget that, Napoleon? I got it now.
It happens.
I was a little, and I'm glad you came up. You're the first millennium of the day.
Yeah,
and
right.
I wanted to know, because you had me a little confused. At one point, you were carrying the red flag charging the hill. The next time I heard you, you were coming down it with the white flag. I didn't know whether you were on fire or chilled, and I just wanted to know you're for it or against it.
I'm in the gray area. Life's a gray area.
I felt like you were.
I feel like if you do something, you should do it right. And I completely understand that it's going to be up to our legislator for the build-out process. However, I feel like, anytime something's done, I don't get hired at a job and they say, oh, well, we think you can do it. It's like, no, we want to see that you have previous results, what has been done, what, what you have a scope, a plan of action, deadlines, things of that nature. So if that's not being done with casinos, and I know it's kind of hard to do, especially with the government branch, as well as doing with casinos, but what I'm saying is, we should have a scoped out plan of action for the implementation of gambling in Georgia?
I do know one thing, and I'm finished. You have one of the strongest legislative delegations in the State House. And when I look around this city, somebody's been doing some planning. There's been a lot of planning and implementation done here. You talk about everything kind of migrating toward Atlanta. You ought to live in Midway, Georgia, then you can complain about above the gnat line. But let me just say this. Can't surrender on where you are and who you are. As I remember when Savannah, Georgia was a town living strictly on what it used to be. And then it was going down fast, and two things happened. First thing was a little movie called Forrest Gump. Three things. The next thing was another movie. What's the one? Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. And do you know, I watched Savannah go from that so-so headed downhill town to a town that attracts 13 million visitors a year without a casino, and that's $3 billion worth of economic impact. It's just a matter of making the plan work. There are a lot of plans. This is a good town, and Columbus has as good a shot at that other tier as any other city in this state.
I do have one more question, I'm sorry.
You're a preacher too.
Yeah, a little bit, you know, a little bit. Growing up in Columbus, the whole Baptist is coming out of me now. The limited number, do we have a definite number on the limited, or is it, because I've seen that it was always made vague. Do we have a definite number on the limited amount of slots, or?
You talking about casino locations?
Yeah, so on the video, it's the number of casinos
that would be
and
left
gaming
up to the
licenses
gaming
are always-
commission. That'd be
Right,
left up to
they're
the
referring
gaming
to as
commission and basically the economic viability of what the state would support.
Okay, so do we have a range, or it's just limited? It's limited as vague as it
I
can get.
think that it's, I think it's just up to the free market, what a business model will support. I think I said earlier, you know, what I've listened to on testimony, I think you've already got one that's already committed, and that's at Atlanta Motor Speedway at Hampton. And that's unique. That's a structure already there. I think you're talking about Fulton County, probably South Fulton or somewhere in there. I think you're talking about Columbus. You asked about Columbus a minute ago. Well, I'd say no more. I don't know the gentleman, but if you turn around, the guy that's sitting right behind you on that front bench, I think he's pretty well committed. And I don't even know him, but I've heard his testimony twice, and I think he's pretty well committed.
He didn't come down to say, hey.
As they say, money talks and something else walks.
Yes.
I think you're talking about one down on the Florida border, either at Valdosta or St. Mary's, or maybe both.
Probably midway, nowhere down.
To reach out to that tourist value out of the Jacksonville, Tallahassee market. I think you're talking about Savannah, right there at the crossroads coming out of the Carolinas and such. I think you're talking about probably a B class over in Augusta area. So, you know, where else I don't know. But you got to have several things that makes it work. One is the business model of the casino companies have got to have a viable plan that they will be a success. And then they have to sell that to the gaming commission to be licensed. That's, you know, that's the process, because the gaming commission, they want to be sure that it is a controlled environment, that you don't wind up with a lot of the comments, you know, you hear about, you know, the crime and all. Well, you also heard from testimony that was given to us, there ain't no crime. Well, that makes sense. If you've ever been to a casino, they got more cameras than a dog's got fleas. And they've got facial recognition. They know who the criminals are before they come and go, and they wrap a bow around them and get them out. They don't tolerate that around a casino. So they're probably the safest places that there are. So, you know, there's a lot of intricacies to this. But I would say that the biggest problem is that you need a constitutional amendment. And it's got to start somewhere. And that's what we're doing. And if the good people in Columbus, the ones who are in favor of it, have at it. You need to mobilize yourselves here and carry it on outside, let it radiate around. The folks are opposed to it. They can do the same thing, you know. But it's my observations. You heard Jed Harrison. He brought back a thought to me 28 years ago. You know, I saw some of the ministerial folks who preached our mortal damnation for the lottery, but yet I haven't seen it yet. I've seen the most efficient program that has provided benefits to the people of this state to go to college on, to go to tech schools, to pre-K. And to me, the whole thing, my whole involvement in this issue, it rests on one thing. I've watched this state for 28 years, and the number one hole there's never enough money for, and that's health care, to help the working class poor in this state. And that's where I'd like to see this money go. And that's what I'm drafting in a constitutional amendment, if we can ever get it passed. So, questions?
I definitely appreciate the time.
Any other questions? Thank you, Napoleon. Appreciate you. Juan Bryant. You driving back?
Hello, thank you for having me, committee and everyone. I really don't have too many questions, but what is just pretty much a statement. I'm for it, for one. I'm for it, but I'm for it because of economic development. I'm retired military myself, and the gentleman earlier was saying about the effects of it have on military. And I'm just here to tell you, being a soldier all my life, we don't need a casino to spend money. We're going to blow money, or we're going to spend money wherever there's a place for us to enjoy ourselves, regardless. It just gives us an opportunity to do something different. I agree with some of the other people said before about the resort being able, just not a gambling. I think people focus on this gambling thing. They're not looking at the other aspects of it as well. Entertainment, going out to eat, going to do something different. This ain't a resort, so it lets you know there's also going to be many different things to be done. But one of the things that I definitely just want to put into mind is the community. The community economically, when you're talking about Columbus, Georgia. One of the gentlemen that said, I think Alton has said as well, was that, don't forget Columbus. And one of the things that we know that I grew up in Chicago, and if you're not investing in an area, if it's not growing, if it's not progressing, it will die. And I've seen that just growing up in Chicago, that communities, parts of cities do die because it's not progressing or it's not keeping up with the times. And I think one of the things that for this idea that's great, not just for the citizens of Columbus, but for the tourists as well that come here, is it will help Columbus grow. It will help Columbus grow and the surrounding counties of Columbus grow as well. I don't think that's going to kill jobs. I think it will invigorate everything around it as that economic income level goes up. I agree with the gentleman as well when he said about the health care. Definitely, be able to improve the lives of every Georgian, and people that's working. But one of the things I definitely want to just ask a question of is that when you're doing this planning and you're putting this into place, is there going to be a committee or some type of at least into how you make sure you're not killing or you're not demeaning local talents, local people, musicians, local artists? Is there some type of implementation into where it's saying, hey, we're going to include not just the big level stars that come, but we also include the local stars as well, keeping the local environment and local entertainment and business and stuff like that growing as well. I think that's what continues to invigorate that economic machine. It does cut back on the gentrification of an area, but it also invigorates the income level, which means that that economic machine of spending, entertainment, bring more people here begins to thrive, because we do sit on a very special place. Columbus sits on that border right here at Alabama in this place right here. So you have that military base sits on both sides of this border. And as an increase of soldiers do come, for them to do something besides gambling, but just to have that entertainment aspect of it, it allows other things too, because I just traveling around the world, you know, places that do have gambling and whatever like that, it doesn't become the main focus, but you have mini golfing, you have putt-putting, you have just different entertainment things that you begin to do. And I mean, you know, we never fully grow up anyway to enjoy ourselves, but we still enjoy that entertainment aspect of it. So we're looking at things that's going to be able to kind of like spin off just not of the resort itself, but be able to invigorate the whole area. Because when I talk to soldiers, one of the things why we go to Atlanta or go to other places is because there isn't other things here to do besides the norm of the either, you know, the mall area or Stars and Stripes. You know, soldiers do want to do other things. People want to do other things. And I think that Columbus has the opportunity. This is just not for Columbus, but Georgia has the opportunity, but definitely for Columbus, is to be able to use this and grow. We have to grow, because if we do not grow, we're going to die. It's going to die. I mean, you can't always depend on the military base and stuff like that as well to invigorate the city. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Fort Benning is not going anywhere. But what else is going on that's going to continue to allow the area to grow? Because we know one thing, the population is growing, and if you're not keeping up with that growth, all your talent begins to fly out and go into other places where there are growth. And then that's what creates the city to die.
All right. Questions? We thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I really do want to thank you for your comment about the military. You know, there was something a little bit earlier today that was said about that kind of defamed folks in the military about gambling addictions and stuff like that, which I thought was kind of unfair to that classification of folks. But thank you so much for your comments. Well, is this a Z? Somebody by the name of Z at Music Founder?
All right, tell us about Beyonce coming.
Good afternoon, thank you. I'm glad to be here. So I'm a resident of Phoenix City, Alabama. I represent a lot of musicians, though, in this entire region. And my only question or comment is just to make sure that musicians have a chance to be in this casino, because usually non-compete contracts exist, and a large entertainment agency, they're the ones that host those contracts. And most local musicians usually don't have a chance. I'm all for it, because I'm all about responsible gaming, and it brings attraction, and I can invite some of my celebrity friends to come down here. Hey, come to the casino, river rafting, listen, you're gonna have a good time. They'll love it. So I just maybe wanted to make that comment, and thank you for saying Beyonce. That's hope for me.
Thank you.
I don't have any answers if y'all have questions. No, I'm just playing. But if you do, I'll be glad to help. And thank you, Mr. Wright.
Thank you so much, Z. And the only advice I would give is you might want to consider moving over here where you can vote in Georgia for this issue. So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes all of the questions to any of the committee members. I see a hand up. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sure. You're more than welcome to speak.
I appreciate you all coming and giving us an opportunity. I'm 64 years old. Ever since I've been registered to vote, I've always voted. I've never had an opportunity for my voice to be heard. But I just want to say this. To not let us vote on this constitutional amendment is to say that we're not smart enough to figure it out. We were smart enough to vote you all into office because you know what you brought to the table and can do. And I hope that you all give us this opportunity to basically do whatever. I have heard a lot said about this casino thing, and let me explain to you. I'm a disabled veteran. I didn't buy what the guy said about us. I enjoy going to the casinos. For my anniversary last month, I went to Atboy to West Wetumpka, and I stayed at the casino. We did more than just stay at the casino. We went through Montgomery, we went to the movie there, we bought, and we went to different places and supported other business. And we also played the machines. I'm scheduled to go to Vegas in a few months because we've been there before and enjoyed it, you know, the opportunities to see this and to support the local economy. I applaud what Dr. Wright is doing because one of the things that Columbus has been good with the leadership as well as our state legislator is developing the economy of this city. I moved here 39 years ago, and when I came downtown, it was a deserted place with a couple of little juke joint clubs down there and not a whole lot going on. But they saw fit, and I thought it was the craziest thing ever, and I stand here today and admit I was wrong, when they talked about developing a river walk. I just didn't see the advantage of what it was going to do for this community. I was wrong. It has had a major impact on this community. The people of this city have always had a vision, and they've always gone about do their due diligence and do whatever needed to be done to make sure that whatever they did was successful. Now we have whitewater rafting. We have all kinds of things going on. We got a sports complex not too far from what this facility is proposed. We've got a lot going on. Years ago, I just recently retired in 2012 as Assistant Chief Facility Officer for Columbus State University. Most of what you see downtown that pertains to Columbus State University, I was the one, when the president came and said we were moving into downtown Columbus, was responsible for, one, identifying buildings, getting the funding application together, go to the Board of Regents, present it, and get the funding to do a lot of what you did. So when I go through Columbus, I see a lot of my work on main campus and down here as well. Never in my mind did I realize the impact that moving that campus, part of that campus downtown, was going to have on this city. But it's had a major impact because we hold down the end on one side and Toll System holds down the end on the other side. Now you've got restaurants and all kinds of nice facilities going on down here that basic. They've always been good stewards of what's best for this city. So if we do get the opportunity, which I pray we do, to vote for this, and then we get the opportunity to hopefully vote that Columbus gets one of these, it would be one of the greatest assets to the city. And I'm going to leave you with something. A lot of people in this room remember Bill Turner. He was real instrumental in a lot of that went on in this city.
Yep.
And Bill said one thing that a lot of people seem to have ignored, and that I think we're now trying to correct. And I agree with him. When I had the conference, people came here and we stayed at the Marriott downtown, and they went about and walked through town and did whatever they wanted to do or whatever, and had a good time. And their comment to me was, I'm glad you did that, because one, we did not know Columbus had all this. People pass through Columbus coming from Atlanta and everywhere else, going to Florida, come down Victory Drive, and that's all they see. The city has done a major job to clean it up. It would be a great asset to the city when you cross that Phoenix City Bridge to see that picture of that hotel sitting on that abandoned lot that they are taking those oil tanks and all that other stuff down would be a great welcome to this city. And it would also bring people here. Columbus is a destination city. This will only enhance that. And I want to say thank you all for listening to what I had to say. Thank you all for being here. Dr. Wright, I thank you for your vision. You know, I watched Dr. Wright from a distance. He's a very ethical man. I know that if this is done, it's going to be done right, and it's going to be done decent and in order. And I thank you for your time.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we're about to conclude, on behalf of the committee, I'd like to thank the city in Muskogee and Columbus for the opportunity to come down here. I hope we have been able to share some part of this, whether you're for it or against it, as they say at home. I would recommend that this isn't just something that one person or one legislator can do. This is something that takes the motivation of the public, and that's to get other folks motivated in other parts of the state, because it takes a constitutional amendment. You can talk to your legislators all you want to, but somehow somebody's got to talk to the other folks to see if we can get those 2/3 just to put it on the ballot. And whatever the decision is of the people, let that be what goes forward. I can tell you, you've heard most of everything that I had to say is what I think that would happen. But with 236 legislators, you know, every one of them will have a say, both in the House and in the Senate. So I want to thank you again on behalf of the committee. Any of the committee members, would y'all like to say a parting comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say it's been a real pleasure to be in Columbus. Columbus is one of Georgia's great cities, and I've had the pleasure to visit a number of times, and I've always been impressed here. And I thank all the people here today who came and expressed your views. And of course, there were views on different sides of the issue, but I appreciate you coming and appreciate your patience. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make that comment.
I just want to say thank you as well. This is how the committee learns. I learn something new every time I come, and I appreciate the opinions shared here today on both sides. I love this city. Both my father and brother went through Ranger School here at Fort Benning. We lived here when I was just a toddler. I don't have a whole lot of memories of it, but I've seen it in the pictures. So it's, in that respect, it's dear to my heart. Thank you for coming out today and taking the time to share your thoughts and opinions with it. We all appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman. Just want to say thank you to the people of Columbus for hosting this for us today. It was great being in your great city, but I hope you all do understand that Macon is in the center of the state. 2 hours every distance to get to Macon, so we are definitely going to fight you tooth and nail.
Put a plug in. Plug.
Thank you all.
What a wonderful facility for hosting this event. I think we need some enabling legislation that requires the state to purchase these comfortable chairs for all of us.
Yeah, for us, it's mighty good.
I'll second that motion, but I did come down and have lunch at one of your fine barbecue restaurants over across the street, so I spent some money in Columbus, Georgia. And it was mighty good, but thank you very much. We appreciate the hospitality.
Mr. Chairman, I want to mention that Senator Harbison just texted me. He's on the Senate committee that's doing the same thing, and he couldn't be here today, but he sends his regards because he has been studying on the Senate side of this equation. So, and again, thank y'all for coming, and thanks for asking us to host one. We appreciate it.
Dean, I'm glad you got a chance to say that, because I was going to mention you. I drove hard 4 hours plus 2 minutes to get here, and had it not been for my seatmate, Representative Hughley, I would have still been hungry. And that's a long ways to come, and no food, beautiful facilities, so y'all got some money. Now, next time we want something if it ain't nothing but a box. But thank you, Carolyn, for not letting me stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, as a parting shot, thank you again, and my thanks to y'all for your delegation that you've been consistently sending to Atlanta. My friend, Calvin Smyrie, has probably been more of a coach and a mentor and a teacher to me, because the legislature is one of those things when you go in, you're full of yourself, you got your own ideas, but we learn. But we learn by listening to others. And it's certainly been my great pleasure over the years of serving with Calvin Smyrie. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. A Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas. Calvin.